So first of all, I just want to welcome everybody to the Rotary Eclub of 3310. It's always a pleasure to meet more people and to have a chance to network as well. Today, we're going to have a very good speaker in Perlita, Tiro. But this is going to be one of the things that we hope to be able to develop, to build up a lot of resources, build up skills, especially for young Rotarians as well as Rotaractors. To do the honor of introducing Perlita, although I know her very, very well, I'd like to call upon my past president, Vicky Su, to do the honor. Vicky Su.
Okay, good evening. Every Rotarian knows that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, like the president Eddie has said, Perlita Tiro was the first lady president of Rotary Club of Singapore in the year 2014 and 15. And Rotary Club of Singapore is the largest club in our district, for those who don't know, with around 150 members. She has also won Rotarian of the Year award of the club in the year 2004. PP Perlita has an MBA and she was a qualified accountant. She was working for HGV Group, which is now part of Ernst & Young. And she was transferred to Singapore in the year 1970. That was 50 years ago. Later, she joined British firm PA Consulting Service in the year 1980, where she specialized in human resource consultancy and executive search. She became a CEO of this company, also the first woman to get this role in the company. In 1989, she set up her own company called Tiro Consulting Services. She has since sold her company and retired, but she and her team had done hundreds of recruiting and headhunting assignments for over 40 years in this region, serving both government and commercial sectors. Currently in her active retirement, she's very active in Rotary, in her church activities, and still being a member of the certification board of SBACC. Without further ado, please help me welcome our speaker, PP Perlita Tiro.
Thank you very much, PP Vicky. And CP Banseng, thanks so much for inviting me for tonight. It's really a pleasure to speak with you and meet your members. And with the current recession yet to worsen before the situation improves, employers nowadays must be more careful in recruiting people to make sure that they get the right people they have in the organization. If they have to employ at all, because nowadays everybody is quite careful. But on the other hand, you need the people to run the organization to let the organization continue. Big or small organizations must be careful. Even nowadays, you will see that prospective employees, even the fresh graduates, have become very savvy in preparing resumes, and therefore we must be careful that we're able to select the better ones as we go through the selection process. So this talk is meant to be for employers. However, I shall be focusing on reviewing resumes rather than report writing. I don't think we have got any Rotaractors around here, huh? So maybe if there's nobody, we can just go through them. Because I have some tips for them as well, and as well as some advice to management. Now, to start with, let me emphasize that as employers, we need to set parameters right in seeking the right people. Apart from academic skills, academic qualifications and experience, we need to define the skills needed. Most employers would talk about qualifications and experience without forgetting about the skills altogether. We are speaking of both hard and soft skills here, which have become a lot more important during these times of disruption and uncertainty. Let me just give you as a curtain raiser This Venn diagram, I don't know whether anybody has seen this.
Perfect for explaining my career path.
Sorry, have I shared?
Venn diagrams.
No, are you sharing the screen?
Sorry, I forgot. I haven't screen yet. Yes, just a minute. I need to share screen. Forgot. Okay. Right. Okay, I got it.
No, we're not seeing the screen yet.
Yes. Okay, I'll do that. Share.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Let me just go through that. Okay, that's the cover. This you see, yeah?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let me just start with this comedian first as a curtain raiser. Hope you enjoy this one.
Venn diagrams are perfect for explaining my career path. I'm one of the few comics working in Venn diagrams. So the reason I became an engineer was because of two things. I was good at two things. I had math skills and I was good at problem solving. And when you're good at those two things, no guidance counselor ever says you should be a comedian. They would be fired. So they said you should be an engineer, so I went and became an engineer. Makes perfect sense, right? Over here, if you got people skills, you're good with people, and you're good at problem solving, you're probably going to go into management, right? Makes perfect sense. Over here, if you got OCD, everything has to be exactly right. And you're good at math, you are an accountant, is what you are.
Are there accountants there?
Accountants were high-fiving over there. I've never seen an accountant high-five. Yes, he got us right. That joke adds up perfectly. That is accountants, though. They can't solve any problems, but they can identify them. That's an accountant. An accountant will go, you got to fix this. Over here, if you're into drinking and you have people skills, you're in sales, is what you are.
Sorry, PP Richard, did I hit you?
Okay, I had my red wine this afternoon with Mark.
Over here, if you're heartless and you have OCD, you're human resources.
Oops.
No heart whatsoever. And if you're
Perlita, you're also HR, huh? Oh,
We have no lawyer here.
Just talking about Vicky Sue.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just go into something a little bit more serious now. This Jason Green is with Skill Smart, and let me just share what he has said in, this is from TEDx talk, which talks about the importance of, again, defining the skills. Defining the skills.
And at the end of the day, it wasn't that satisfying. Have any of you gone into your grocery store hungry without your shopping list?
Perlita, you got to put the volume up a little bit.
Hang on, I think.
Have any of you gone into
You
your
got to put the volume up,
wait,
otherwise you cannot hear.
Just a minute, Okay. I have put up the volume. Can you hear?
Have any of you gone into your grocery store hungry without your shopping list?
Can you hear
You
that?
know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And those of you who haven't, consider yourself lucky and warned, because there are consequences. You'll find yourself like me, being pulled up and down a grocery aisle by my grumbling stomach, not really caring about what ingredients there were, but just throwing finished products into my cart, trying to satisfy my hunger. Well, when I got home and unpacked my items, which included some jalapeno potato chips, some strawberry Pop-Tarts, and raw broccoli spears, this actually happened. Let's just say that that meal was less than appetizing. Well, unfortunately, a number of our employers are taking a very similar approach to hiring with a similar outcome. They're launching into the hiring process without having a really good sense of exactly what ingredients they want to procure that will mean a lasting outcome. Have you seen a job description lately? You know that's not the recipe for success. In fact, The CEO of Burning Glass, which is a large job description aggregator, recently called the job description something akin to an archaeological dig. That's not very clear. I saw this vagueness play out when I was associate counsel to President Obama. Employers would come into us and say, we want to hire, but we can't find people with the right skills. We would say, what are the right skills? And to give you someone with a 4-year degree and 3 to 5 years of work experience. And I thought to myself, probably the same thing you're thinking to yourselves. Well, those aren't skills. Those credentials, we've used them as a proxy for ability for a long time. And that system has worked okay for some, but increasingly it's leaving our employers dissatisfied, our workforce disengaged, and our economy at less than full potential. Employers would come, well, those aren't skills. Those credentials, we've used them as a proxy for ability for a long time. And that system has worked okay for some, but increasingly it's leaving our employers dissatisfied, our workforce disengaged, and our economy at less than full potential. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be that way. If our employers could be clearer about exactly what can appear and should appear on that grocery list, not only will they have a more cost-effective and satisfying experience, but they'll also be able to transform and align our talent development process. Our talent development process. This is the process that includes our educators, our trainers, our employers, job seekers, everyone who helps us learn about, qualify for, and be hired into jobs. That talent development process is actually fundamental to the competitiveness of our economy. And right now it's failing us.
Okay, let's just go forward and talk about
that data. We need the data that only you can provide, because at the end of the day, you're actually going to be the purchaser of this finished product. Because our educators and our job seekers, they're actually pretty frustrated too. Our educators want to produce programs that produce the meaningful skills that will lead to success. Our job seekers view this entire process as a virtual black box they actually can't see into. With all that frustration, forces you to think, how did we get here? Now, I won't take you back thousands of years through the job search process, back to the hunters and gatherers, where you got your job based upon your utility to society. But they may have had something there. Let's suffice it to say that where we are is a function of technological evolution and lack thereof. We've had tremendous innovation in the world of work. The internet age, the technology age, the machine age have all influenced the way in which we engage with work. Who does it? Who does what? But we haven't seen that sort of innovation in the talent development process. No, we haven't. We're still putting students into programs that have little to any connectivity to the world of work. We still see job seekers using a 500-year-old resume, tweaking it on the edges. And our employers are using a job description that looks like a newspaper classified ad. It just happens to be online now. That one's from 1861. Of course, our critics are going to be quick to complain and point out that we do have the advent of single-click applications. But I think that just creates more noise. And I think our inundated HR directors would agree with me. Now you have these semantic word searches that are trying to seek out the keywords in your resume and match them to the keywords in your job description. But at the end of the day, that just shows that you picked the right keywords.
Yeah.
What you've done and can do more than where you've been. Because we're asking people to redefine themselves, to take their skills from previous experiences and apply them to new opportunities. But how do you do that if you don't know exactly what those new opportunities require? Think about those people who develop their skill sets outside of the traditional workforce. People like my mom.
Okay, let's skip that one and just go
for this opportunity.
Further. You can.
And if I'm not qualified today, what can I do to be qualified tomorrow? The exciting potential about understanding jobs at their atomic skill level is that in addition to being able to be clear about exactly what skill sets a job requires and being able to match talent to that opportunity, is the fact that we're also able to identify the building blocks for our educators and our trainers so that they can produce the education and the skills that employers need. Through data and transparency, we can transform the K through 12 model into a K through life model. We know that the modern worker is going to hold an average of 15 jobs. So this idea and process of skill identification and then acquisition is one that's going to happen again and again. Would your college or high school experience have been enhanced had you known how well what you were learning would have been applied to the workforce? We know that people matriculate and complete at higher rates where they know how what they're learning relates to the workforce. Would you be more likely to take a course today online at your local community college, at a university, if you knew that that course would teach you the 3 or 4 critical skills that you can obtain that next opportunity? That's the process. That's the system that's going to activate our employers and align our education and our training and empower our job seekers to demonstrate based on skills that they're the right fit. Now, the next time I go into a grocery store, you can rest assured that I'm going to take my grocery shopping list with me. But my hope is that the next time our employers engage in hiring, that they have the opportunity to be very deliberate and clear about exactly what skills they're trying to bring into the enterprise.
Okay, I think that's good enough. Sorry, where am I? Are you back with me?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Okay, right. So I just showed you how important it is to have a job description before coming up with the position. You know, you want to recruit somebody, you need to come up with a proper job description and defining exactly what your requirements are. So it's important that before you come up with that, you have to make a shopping list and then define exactly what you want to have so that you can identify what the expectations are from your resume. So let me just bring you to the organization cycle, the human resource cycle. You just don't come up with an advertisement and publish it. You have to first come up with your organizational strategies. Nowadays, we have to undergo a new normal. It's completely disruptive nowadays. So you have to identify what are your planned activities, your markets, your consumers, who are your customers, the products and services you want to offer, distribution process. All these change. So before you come up with you also have to define what resources you need in terms of manpower, facilities, finances, budgets, and so on, the money that whatever you can afford, before you finally come up with recruitment and development. And then you assess the people later on after they have joined in. So it's important to see the entire human resource cycle before you just go out there and get someone, recruit someone for your organization. And then, okay, let's see. What are your job requirements? You identify what the relevant experience is. What are the hard skills you require to have? What stage of tech savviness do you need from the person? Soft skills, which are very important. I'll go into that later on. Academic qualifications. Nowadays, of course, the academic qualifications have become less important as you have more experience. And then what are the relevant non-work experience you could have? Well, if there are Rotaractors around, the experience that they've had in charity work, in working with oldies, painting walls and all those will be useful, especially if you don't have much experience. And of course, whatever job you've done in NS, of course, perhaps if you've done some office work, that's going to be useful as well. So put them in, they have to be put in. Now, selecting gems. How do you select the gems from the stacks of resume? Most important I put in here is it has to offer value added proposition to the job. And let me see, I need to like put my screen somewhere else. Can you, right. Can you see the top? Even if
Yes.
it's covered, you can see the top. Okay.
Easy to read with highlights of
All right, okay,
qualification.
good. Okay, so normally the top of the page will have your highlights of qualifications and experience. Then normally you'd have a decent picture and contact details. Of course, if you have a picture which only your mother can love, then don't include it, right? You probably don't want to include that. And then catchy and active words, not long-winded. So if I see a resume which is very long, I tend to just chuck it aside and look for something really catchy, that some resume that talks to you, not job descriptions, highlighting achievements and focusing on relevant aspects on the position that the person is applying for. Okay, furthermore, we have got, there has to be a balance between somebody who can hold on to jobs and gathering most in each job, yet adaptable to pick up and achieve results in new roles. A long time ago, during my time, of course, I would say, okay, a person must have 5 years experience in a job before he moves on. But nowadays it's different. So if a person has been in a job for a couple of years, I think so long as you can see that there's a difference in his achievements in the work that he has done, that he's developing himself, it's fine. If he goes from one job to another just for a few $100 maybe, but doing the same job, then that's not really good, right? So now you have to expect good written English, well-structured and good flow, because with the spell check nowadays, there's really no excuse to having typo errors. Of course, grammatical errors can still come in, but typo errors should not be acceptable, yeah. And ability to work in teams. It's difficult to find this, of course, in resumes. However, you can see from what the person has done. Has he been working on his own, or has he been working with teams? You know, and continuing education shows that the person wants to continue his education, especially nowadays. We have got, of course, you must know about RLIS, various from skills development, skills future fund. You can get money from there. A person who does not have a job should actually, or even if he has a job, he should continue his education to see how he can improve himself. And of course, if a person applies early, then he should have some kind of preference, because that means he's really excited for the job. Let me just show you an example of, let me see. This is an actual example of a person. He talks about, sorry. Okay, he shows his personal details on top. He gives some background of what he has done. Okay, personal details should really be at the back, unless you want to just put your address and phone number, maybe for easy contact. But normally, you know, the address, you don't put your date of birth on top, because that's already, it's not so important anymore nowadays. The age doesn't seem to be important, especially if you're old. You don't want to emphasize how old you are, right? So you want to keep that somewhere. As a matter of fact, some people even don't put the age nowadays. Now, this guy talks about 10 personal summary, 10 years of sales experience. A lot of things he has put here, which is too long, I think, too long. However, he emphasizes the importance of being able to do tendering work, making presentations, attending to medium and large scale projects, and so on. Trilingual. Now, does your job require somebody who's bilingual or trilingual? Then it comes out there. But if the job does not require that, then probably, you know, it should be somewhere else, not on the top of the page, because it occupies a lot of space. But you can see here the person puts providing, people have complimented him for providing excellent customer service, willing to put extra hours. So you see that even if you have not seen him, he's insinuating his soft skills, that he's hardworking, he can make decisions, he's willing to put in hours. So that seems to be quite positive. Now, when he comes to this work experience is done this, you notice that he has put a lot of positions, a lot of job responsibilities here rather than achievements. That's obviously a no-no, because what are you getting from here? Okay, maybe some qualifying new opportunities, sales pitch to C-level, that would be good. But there are certain, it's just too long for a CV. Normally a CV should really be 1 or 2 pages, at best 3 pages if you are really experienced, if you've got a lot of work experience. And as I mentioned, you cannot afford to have typographical error here. So that is no-no. And then he puts here the reason for leaving. You should not be putting that. Well, if you're reading it, maybe it helps, but it's not really necessary to put it in the cover, in the resume, because it just puts you off, especially here. If you see through the CV, it talks about restructuring and he's always subject to it. So you're just wondering, hey, is this guy sway or not? You know, every time his company closes or his company is taken down, what happens? So you probably, if the person is writing the CV, you probably want to miss that. Now, in his other job here, he talks about, this is now an MNC, he emphasizes that, which is good. Again, he talks about jobs. Again, not the key things in the job. It's just detailed. You know, he could have just copied that from the job description, given by the company, which is not really good enough. What you want is this. The nice thing is he has indicated his achievements. His achievement, he has reached target. He grew customers from 0 to 70 to 80% growth from previous year. Had meetings with MHA, police force, if that's relevant anyway to the job that you have. Again, he put in the reason for moving away, which should not be put in there. At the end, there's 2 other items there, but he puts his qualifications at the end, which I would suggest, but normally you wouldn't put any more unless you don't have a degree. Then you don't put the sorry, I think I took it out, but you know, you don't have to put your O-level and like A-level at the bottom if you have a degree. If you don't, then maybe you should. And whatever diploma, of course, is useful. Whatever courses you've taken is good, because it shows that you want to continue developing. Okay. Now, this is another example of this is from the US, some examples of CVs, which are really very much achievement oriented. If you look at you see, when he talks about experience, he talks about already what he has done in terms of reducing the process handling time by 25%, analyze data to increase production by 20%, or reduce compliance maintenance. So this is a pretty good CV. And skills talks about accounting and sales, and his education right at the back. These are some other examples. Right, again, the education should be at the back, but this guy has just 3 years of experience, so maybe it's good. But you know, when you are in this day and age, when times are bad and things are to be changed, you see he's analytics driven. It means he inbound digital marketing. Now everybody's talking online. So this experience will be useful. Whatever business you're in, this experience would obviously be useful when you're hiring. It talks about getting campaigns, email campaigns, and developing customers out of email campaigns. It shows a lot of resourcefulness. Yeah. Right. Again, this is an earlier experience in digital marketing. So, of course, the numbers that we're talking in Singapore wouldn't be this big. But if these are highlighted, then it shows, especially if you're looking for somebody who is in media, then this is going to be useful. Somebody who will do marketing, the run-of-the-mill marketing, but at the same time understands what social media is all about, be useful. So here at the bottom, he puts in his skills, social media marketing, email marketing, Google Analytics, HubSpot, copywriting, and so on. And he also talks about what he has done as far as Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram is concerned. Okay, here's one guy who has got a very long resume, but as I said, if it is, if the person has got long experience, then perhaps, let's just see. Manages, it talks about managing award-winning top-selling products, generating 15 million. Again, it shows the magnitude of the company is working for, and the product life cycle that he has done from concept to delivery. These are softwares that he has been involved in, including financial modeling and forecasting. Then he talks about his professional experience, which could be quite long. And then at the end, he talks about his education and the technological summary. I think it's a little bit old because it's got still C. Now, what about, by the way, if you have questions, put them on the chat group so we can talk about it later on. Some advice to resumes. Resume reviewers. If you're reviewing resumes, look for qualities of people in between the lines of resumes, not necessarily those written down, which we had discussed earlier. So the person, it looks like the person works overtime, therefore he could be hardworking. You still have to define that during the interview. And be responsive to quality people. If they're good, then you have to respond to them. They respond to you early, you respond to them back real quickly too, because they would probably be looking for other jobs somewhere else, or else you will lose them. And you have to nudge the hiring manager to interview if you're not the interviewer yourself. Okay, other parts, you be flexible. And nowadays, I think it becomes more important to have grit and perseverance and commitment and good attitude, being passionate of the job, more than intelligence and just being able to present oneself. Okay, very important to anticipate the company's needs over the next 6, 12, 24 months, because we are low now, but it doesn't mean that we're going to stay low for a while. Hopefully that we will recover soon. And therefore, will the person be able to grow in the next 6, 12, 24 months? Are you looking for a worker now who can be developed as a manager or as a leader later on? Or are you looking for somebody who will just stay in the job and just help things around and move on from one department to another? And then I always try to campaign for performance-related remuneration, especially nowadays, the salaries are on the low side. So maybe you might want to talk about performance-related remuneration to keep your good staff with you. Okay? And so you spot potential performers, but hang on to them, provide them conducive environment for orientation and training. Now, some advice to management. I think you have to be conscious of guidance and training and developing staff, of the new staff. Just like our membership in Rotary, you need to develop them as well, be close to them to make sure they don't leave. It's the same thing with the staff. So enable the success of employees by sharing the vision of leadership and motivating them, and ensure that the leadership remains important. I think some managers would say, okay, I've reached this place and I'm staying in this place, and just would see things on a top-down approach. I think gone are the days of that style. I think it has to be a bottom-up approach wherein you listen to the people, listen to what they say to make sure, and then you yourself should probably be continuing your education in order to make yourself relevant. So you engage the staff in shaping the company's future. So it's not just you shaping the company's future, but get your staff involved as well in shaping the company's future. And consider having staff evaluation at short intervals. In other words, maybe after a project, you interview the person, you talk to the person to see how things are going. What did he do right? What did he do wrong, or not wrong, but maybe areas where he can improve. So you develop him faster faster. Don't wait until 6 months or 1 year to say, okay, you've not really done well, and therefore you have to go. That's not the way to handle the stuff. Okay, retention is always better than recruiting. I always say this to I used to say this for my clients before how do they compare with your existing staff? Are they the position you're looking for? Is it going to be an improvement over your current staff? You always try to compare them with existing staff, whether your existing staff might do better than the new one that you're trying to hire. Okay, in the light of this economic recession, what do we need? Somebody who is very highly adaptable, somebody who can move from one position to another, hopefully, not necessarily move, but help out. The teamwork is very important. Able to work overtime if need be, because you're working on a project, you cannot just leave it halfway. It's got to be finished. Digitally advanced. I think we all know how important this is, and hopefully we can progress. I had a hard time doing this PowerPoint, by the way, so I had to brush up on my PowerPoint knowledge. Communicates and articulates well. Okay, communicating well, articulating well. There's one thing about good English. Good English is good. However, the person must be able to communicate his ideas well, because you're talking of communication to the staff, to bosses, to juniors, to customers, to vendors. Be sure that everything is communicated properly, maybe followed up with email or follow up with whatever communication, WhatsApp nowadays. But it's very important to have somebody who can really communicate and be on top of things. Not delay, don't delay. So very timely, efficient, and effective. Multitasker and able to work with teams, and probably can take a group leader position for specific tasks, not necessarily for a big project, but at least for a small task. The person, even if he's junior, should be able to come up with some leadership, to show some leadership skills, decision-making skills, and so forth, even at the lower level. Resourcefulness is very important, because you cannot afford the luxury of having many staff, and therefore your existing staff must be resourceful to be able to find information wherever. The strong network of contacts is, of course, key when trying to identify vendors, trying to find customers, trying to find suppliers for your IT work, and so on. And hungry, okay? I put that because if the person is not hungry, then he will probably be doing the same thing over and over again without having to innovate, which is what you don't want to happen. In other words, you seek a Superman at this time. However, you should recruit what you need rather than not what you want, because what you want is always a little bit more expensive, and you don't want to overpay, especially at this time. Okay, sometimes some of them might have cover letters. Just be sure that they stand out, they grab the person's attention. It could have some reference to some people in the organization that they know. Highly relevant, they must be highlighting relevant skills and experiences, but don't repeat whatever is in the resume, because it's going to be a waste of time. Short and catchy, active words displaying how the person can make a difference. Okay, for prospective employees, I think we don't have many of this, but there are just some few things here. Good resume is important, tweaking the resume until it is right. Research on the company before sending the resume to see whether you can tailor the resume according to the role, and tell the truth, never lie, and stay motivated. Some people just give up if they are not able to get the job the first couple of times. They should carry on and just improve themselves. Try to find the background, the person interviewing, get the position on your own merits. Don't go through the back door. Of course, it's probably faster, but then it's going to be difficult to have teamwork with the others if you go through the back door. And review before interviews and ensure consistency. So try to identify, those of you who might want to have a career change, try to identify the hidden market. Don't just depend on LinkedIn or Facebook. That's good, but if you can find other other sources like friends and classmates and family members, then you will have a bigger market to source from if you need a change. Okay, but don't submit your CV to 500 people at one time. You know, you have to be careful. You have to discern who you want to send to, because if it's going to be the same CV for different positions, then you are just going to waste your time. So continuing education, I said that earlier, avail of the Skills Future Fund to the fullest. And of course, for everybody, this is for everybody, the world is your oyster, whether you're a job seeker or an employer or management or a company owner. This is really, the world is really your oyster. Don't stay in Singapore, otherwise you will have nowhere to go. So for employees, it's important to be realistic in your ambitions and to enjoy life. Okay, I think that's about what I have. And thank you so much, and appreciate any questions.
Yes, any questions from anybody?
Thank you. Are there, what is in the chat?
Vicky, can you look at the chat and see whether you can see whether there are any relevant questions that we can ask Perlita? But I do have a few questions for Perlita.
Okay, you can start the ball rolling first.
The ball rolling.
CPES.
Well, a lot of people who are actually in the PETs, right? PMET, are actually retired off because of restructuring and stuff like that. Yes. Most of these people are in the age 40 and above. Yes. I find that these people are the ones that are finding a lot of challenges that they cannot get themselves back into employment. As a result, they become Grab drivers and doing all sort of funny jobs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
My question is, most of these people, I would say, are fairly well educated. And so when they are actually trying to find a job, actually the job that is available tends to be lower than what they are more qualified for. There are two challenges. The first one, when they go for the interviewer says, wow, you are more qualified than me, I better don't employ you because you will be my competitor. Point number one. Point number two.
Can I interrupt on that one?
Yes.
I think that's not a good leader, you know, because a leader should be able to find successors, should be able to.
Yeah, but that's the mentality I find of people when people are better qualified and then they're coming to become your subordinate, they tend not to want to employ them. Secondly, there are people who are actually very well qualified. Some of them have degrees, some of them have master's degree. And when they try to get into a job, people will say that you are overqualified because of your qualification. So what they have actually done is that some people with a master's degree, they just drop out the master's degree. Don't want even to mention it. Even if they have a degree, they just say polytechnic. Is that a lie or? Because you can't even get into an interview. You say, don't tell a lie, tell the truth. But if I put all my qualification, I can't even get an interview.
Yes, that's a good point, BS. I think if you, I mean, it's just like putting your picture, only if you look good. If you don't look good, don't put your picture. It's not a lie if you don't put it in there. But sooner or later, you'll have to indicate what is the truth. At least when you are already in front of the interviewer, you can say that, okay, I've got this, but I'm prepared to start from a company which is prepared to groom me up. You know, I'm prepared to work hard in order to build myself again. I have to be realistic. But there has to be some kind of assurance as well that the person will stay, because the problem is some people will go just for the job for 3 months, and then as soon as they find something else, they move. That shouldn't be the case. They have to be really sincere to themselves that, hey, let me give it a try. You know, I'll give it a go and really sweat it out, work out, and produce something. In other words, be able to show that you're actually performing better than expected. If you exceed expectations, I'm sure the boss will share the limelight with you and will probably want to hang on to you.
Yes, that's provided I get a chance to be employed. But I'm talking about my entry point, even whether I can even get a chance to be interviewed, even if I wrote a beautiful resume.
Uh-huh. Yes. Okay. Yes, it's probably better to reduce your resume to the minimum. In other words, take out the masters and you know, if you have got very high, if you're highly qualified, indeed, it could scare people off. To scare people off. But the important thing is the resume should be tuned into what the company is looking for. So long as you answer that, I think you will have a good chance to be selected for interview. The important thing is to match the job your resume against the job requirements. You know, if they require 5 years experience, okay, you have that 5 years experience, maybe a little bit more, you say, but this is an advantage because that means I can pick up the job faster.
Okay. So what you are trying to say to me is that if I got a master's or a PhD, I should omit that out and just write what is required.
I would
And
think
that's
so
not
for
a
the
lie,
resume.
right? That is not
It's
a
not
lie,
a
right?
lie
That's
if
telling the truth.
Yes, you're doing it's a resume. You're just omitting it, but when you come out for an interview, and you have to fill, if in case they let you fill in the form, then you'll have to you have to be truthful.
Okay, so in other words, when I'm filling up the employment form, then I need to put in all my qualifications.
Yes, you have to. The moment you put something in writing, it has to be the truth. I mean, a form, a company's form, if you fill it in, it must be correct. Yeah, it must be the truth.
Okay, I don't know whether there are other questions, but I want to ask another question in line with the Rotary actors and young people. We talk about young people not having necessarily the experiences, right? But if they are involved in Rotary, Interact, and even Rotary, I think the experiences that they get from the voluntary organization is even greater than they could actually get from a job. I share with you I share with you myself, all right? Because I was in the JCs before, I actually ran an infant and child care exhibition, 3 days, 2 nights, and I did it from the beginning to the end. And it was a fantastic experience. Because of my experience, I was able to be exactly doing the work of a CEO of any medium-sized company. That is really an experience that I had, and that was why I was able to move up so fast. So I think that if Rotarians and Rotaractors or Interactors have this sort of experience doing their project works and stuff like that, they should put it into their resume so that it actually beef up on what they actually have done. Because if I'm actually employed as an accounts clerk, my experience as an account clerk is just putting accounting entry. You know, there's nothing very much for me to talk about what I have actually achieved in life. What would you like to comment about this so that the Rotaractors and young people will know how to write the resume so that in this case, put it inside to make it outstanding as what you were saying?
I agree with you on that. As a matter of fact, for new graduates, those that don't have experience, that you should normally put even the summer jobs, you know, summer jobs that they have done. And then the Rotary actors can say, for example, I organized this activity, I did the budgeting for this, and there was you know, I was able to raise enough funds in order to match the requirements of the project. So that in itself is already an accounts experience, you know, being able to come up with a budget and coming up with, but in other words, being able to balance the budget and being able to work in a team. You know, I led a group of 5 to do this project of let's say, even I remember there was once where they had to do painting of walls of seniors.
Yes, yes.
You can say, you know, we succeeded in obtaining donations for paints from companies or food, supplies of food, you know, to be able to distribute to the older people. You know, the organizational ability will come through. The ability to count money will come through as well. ability to work well in a team, that's also good. Yeah. James has a comment. You want to say something, James? Yeah, James says we need young people for their energy and their hope for the future. Attitude will determine the altitude they can achieve. Very true. Very true.
Hello. Yes,
Carry on.
yeah. Just a little comment, because I believe that most Rotarians are senior already, and we need actually a lot of young people within our, especially in our workforce, in our team. New generation of people will have energy, and they have their hope of the future that they want to bring into society.
Mm-hmm.
So they look at life in a different manner. Yeah. So, but my question actually for this resume is that, very often people write a lot about what they do, what they achieve, and things like that. And how do you actually discern whether the person is telling the truth? Question.
Okay.
Is there a way for you to actually, obviously we do a physical or Zoom interview now, right?
Yes.
And by looking at the eyes, maybe some body language, and things like that. So would you like to comment on that?
Okay, I think you have to look at consistencies within the CV. For example, at that position, could he really have achieved that? Let me see. It is, of course, very difficult if you're just looking at it in writing. However, he could actually copy the CV from somebody else, right? He wouldn't even know. Or he could have his wife review the CV for him, or friends or other people to do, or he can even pay some other people. Nowadays, you can pay somebody to write resumes for you.
Yeah, sure.
So if it is too slick, then maybe you start having a question as well. Is this really done by him? How can he produce something like that? But if he has whatever he has done there, he should be able to support himself. He should be able. He should not just be writing job descriptions according to the positions that he has handled before, but it should really be achievements. So you have to look at the achievements to see whether the achievements actually coincide with the job description that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think Jinko Wen has got a question to ask you to talk about age discrimination in Singapore.
Oh.
Age discrimination. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Hi, Kong Wing. Yes. Unfortunately, that applies everywhere, and it is not just now, but it has happened even before. That's why maybe it's better again to omit your date of birth in the resume so that you can be called for interview, because if you're over 40, it's very difficult to find people who would want to interview you, quite frankly, because that's why you've got the bunch of PMETs who are out of a job at present. However, this is actually a way of perhaps we should reach out to employers to let them be more flexible. That's why I suggested there. They have to be more flexible and look at the people for their attitude and their passion rather than just the paper that they have collected, the experience that they have collected. It's really the attitude which becomes more important after a while. Discrimination, age, yes, it's difficult to remove that. It's difficult to remove that. Sometimes I have to fight for some candidates to say the person has got all this experience and he would really be able to assume the role. They might be looking for somebody to take over, for example, in 5 years down the road. Then I would probably say something like, hey, this person might be able to take over the job in 3 years, or in 2 years, or might be able to contribute more. Even during the first year, especially during these difficult times. You need somebody on the run immediately, somebody who can hit the road by tomorrow, you know, if not yesterday, with little orientation and training. Somebody who understands your business, somebody who has been in the industry, of course, that means they can hit the road immediately. Of course, Richard would know that very well. Somebody who's done real estate in the past would be faster, and being able to go to the next one, rather than somebody has no experience at all, right?
Can I add to about the age discrimination? Actually, back in the US in the 80s, actually in the hiring policy, you don't have to state your age, your sex, and your race. So actually, they already have a BFOQ against discrimination. Unfortunately, in the Asian countries, we are not allowed to do that. But in Americans back in the 80s, you don't state whether you are male or female. If it's a special requirement, then you can do on the special requirements.
In
so
the
actually,
US,
in Americans, you are quite okay. You don't even need to tell your ethnic because it's discrimination for hiring policy. Unfortunately, in Asian countries, we don't do that. Because when I was in US, we don't state that. We just submit our resume and we go for the job. And to add about the skills, back in the 80s when I was US to get internship, basically they look at the skills. So when I was voted who's who's among students at American University, I was in a leadership award. They value that because that's life skills. It's not competence skills. It's not skill sets. Because it's all about experience. You know, usually I tell people that when I look for someone, I would just simply say it's all about experience. That's it.
Yes.
And during the interview, you are able to elaborate and showcase yourself if you have done it by yourself. Not because you are arrogant or overconfident, but it really shows that you could communicate at what you say. We're looking at the communication skills, the ability to describe that you are doing, that you have experienced it. Yeah, that's some feedback I would like to just give you.
That's right. Thank you for that, Richard. Yes. Yeah. In Asia, we still require the age. I mean, at least when we talk to them, we even ask whether they're married or they have kids because of traveling. You know, whether they're able to travel or not. Right.
What about photograph, Perlita?
Yes.
Because is it important to put in a photograph when you submit your resume?
For you, it would be good to put because you're good looking.
No, seriously, because some people don't want that because, like you say, if they are not presentable, they prefer not to. So I just want to ask you, is it more advantageous or is a disadvantage not to have?
I think it's an advantage to have a picture because at least you know you collect the person, you have some idea of how the person looks, and when he walks in, there's some camaraderie, you build rapport already. Because if there's no picture, it's so difficult to build that rapport. It's easier. It's in my view anyway.
Thanks. Because I know that some people don't want to send a photograph because they don't look so good.
If they're old, better not.
Okay. I don't think people generally look ugly. All right, you have to be very, very unfortunate to be considered ugly.
Yeah.
All right. But and then also nowadays, you know, you take out your smartphone and you take a selfie, it will autocorrect. You will always do good.
You look better. You better tell me what phone that is. Mine doesn't autocorrect.
Any phone now, all right? Especially Huawei.
Oh, Huawei, yeah, Huawei is very good.
You will look much better than your real person.
Yeah. James says experience comes with age and it can be an advantage. We're looking for seniors with passion to apply their entrepreneurial expertise to social enterprise. And as potential employer, I always ask for photos, he says. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions before we just wrap it up? One final question from Vicky Sue.
I actually, you know, put it up. Can I ask this one? You know, you said that reason for leaving, something that, you know, you better not put because, you know, it is always a put off. But then, you know, life is so unfortunate, right? You know, your example candidate, you know, he he got laid off 3 times.
Yeah.
But you know, that's not his fault, right?
It's not his fault. Yes.
So why would that be against him?
Okay, maybe you put it if if he has been with the company only for a short while. Yeah, but if you're going to say you've been laid off and laid off and laid off, people might think, "Hey, this is bad luck, man. Why should I hire somebody?"
It could be a jinx.
There must be something wrong, you know.
Oh dear. So you will have to anyway. Nobody is going to know whether you are laid off or you.
Later on, it's fine. Later on, you have to tell the truth. Okay, but in the CV, we're talking about resume.
Can you tell half the truth?
Laid
off is not something that you know, it can be.
No, you can
verified.
say later on. What I'm saying is the CV should only be 1 or 2 pages. If you put so many things there, you are crowding it with things which are not even beneficial to you. Sorry, I'm now talking from an employee standpoint, you know.
Yeah.
Because if I'm an employer, hey, this guy keeps on moving. Okay, if he keeps on moving a lot, then you have to have an excuse. But if you keep on moving and you've been retrenched all the time, then I start getting worried. So don't put it there. Yeah. So it will come out during the interview and maybe when you fill up the form or whatever. Yeah. Vicky, you had something?
I actually have one quick question.
Yes, I just want to add, sorry, I just want to add what Gong Wei say. But it's better not to tell a lie in the CV. I come across the applicant, he's applying for a job of a legal assistant. This lady, she said that she had worked in Kuala Lumpur for 2 years, you know. So one day I was sort of free. I started to think, why not call the company and see how? So I called the KL company. KL company said she had never worked there before. You know, she told a lie. Oh, that's very bad. That is very bad. I tell the truth in the CV. I would never take someone like that. Normally, I won't call. The day I say, hey, why not I call? Then she didn't work there. You know, what's the view on this? So one of my friends told me, hey, Vicky, she did so that she want to get the job. That shows how badly she wants the job. What is your view?
No. The lies. If you admit something, then it's okay. But if you deliberately say you worked here and you work there, that's a no. I mean, that could be ground for dismissal. In fact, even after you have employed the person, if the person says that if you do reference check and whatever and he's not there, then
you can terminate.
It's a ground for dismissal.
That's the thing. Yeah, but like what I say, the person say I have been retrenched here and this lay off there. It's like, you know, like jinx, right? So
yeah.
You tell a lie. No, I did not. I wasn't retrenched. You know, but if a person tell a lie relating to that, then how? You know?
Later on, he has to tell the truth. If he goes to the interview, we're talking at the resume stage at this time. Yeah.
Can you kind of gloss it over, you know, retrench, or unless of course you know, you have a long gap of unemployment, right? Then you know you really have no reason to quit and suffer this unemployment. And so
if there's a long gap, definitely you have to explain, because otherwise I would think that you may have been in prison.
Exactly.
King Wai, what do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, just a quick question. I understand that some company now they use software to actually do filtering of CV, because they receive so many CV that the software actually use basically keywords. No, so if you don't have the keywords on
Jason
the CV.
Green talked about. Yes.
Okay. So because I do advise some people on their CVs, especially the younger guys, and also PMATs as well. Some of my friends PMATs are being retrenched and are looking for a job, because you mentioned about keeping the CV short. You know, but at the same time, it's like after working for some of my friends 20 over years, they do have quite a lot of experience. It's quite hard to condense into like 2 pages. No, 3 pages maybe, 2 pages. Yeah.
Well, you emphasize on the later years. And you just consolidate the earlier years.
Okay. So how to get around that software thing? Because you know, if they don't write enough, then some of the things that they've done before, they don't put it there, and they don't even get through to the recruiting or the HR or the recruiting manager. The software basically filter out their CV. Any tips on that? Yeah.
That's why you have to put something that matches the JD.
Okay.
You know, so that it balances. You know, it meets the words that they're looking.
Right. So whatever the JD words, you use it for the CV.
If you're looking for a sales position, and then you were doing engineering work, and it's not an engineering product, you know, why do you need to explain what you did as a plumber? You know, if you're now in marketing, you don't have to say what you've done so many years ago. Maybe just one sentence, you know, one liner would be good enough.
Okay.
You know? So you emphasize the important ones.
This software thing, you know, amazes me. Now, if you have this, you know, standalone or, you know, off the shelf, I think, you know, you are going to lose your gems. You know, but if you insist in efficiency because there are too many applicants, you know, you actually have to, as the hiring manager, you key in the kind of keywords that, you know, it is important to you. You don't leave it to some off-the-shelf software and, you know, going.
Yeah.
That is stupidity, you know, to me.
Yeah.
But actually, in a job description, most of the job description, they will have certain keywords they are looking at. For example, middle-level management. So in the job scope, when you read through the job scope, you should identify the keywords. And therefore, when you submit your resume, you should make sure that there are keywords in there. If they are looking for leadership qualities and in your resume, there's not even one word called leadership or leading a team, then you deserve to be out. It's basically just like when I do at a resume, the criteria is a degree and it's in finance. So if your degree or your resume doesn't have the word finance, it will never even reach my table.
Yes.
And that's the only difference, that instead of giving a human HR guys to look through every resume, they basically use the computer to scan it and pick up the words. Then after that, they cut it, shorten down to maybe 50 resumes. And then the HR manager expertise will then look into exactly out of the 50. Then to look at community service job or they're doing social enterprise, what are the area of focus they are? And that's what I learned from, and when I look at resumes in hiring in my earliest years. Yeah, some feedback for you guys.
Yes, that's good. That's good. Thanks, Richard. Yes.
Thank you very much, Perlita. I think a lot of us have a lot of questions, and we have the opportunity to ask those questions, and especially me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much.
I think it's been a very beneficial.
It's nice to have an interactive discussion, you know.
Yes.